Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Tipping Point Media's think tank here in Malvern, PA, coming to you virtually, which now we're all living at home virtually, and we're going to get through this situation. I mean, this is the type of situations where innovation occurs and leaders are born. So let's all work together. We've got a great presentation for you today. Very excited about it. Let me go through here. So the first thing I wanted to tell all you guys, but part of this presentation is going to be, your traditional go-to meeting, if you will, but we're going to show you how to integrate VR and AR into these types of meetings. So the first thing, if you haven't already, is go ahead and download our AR app. So you can find it right here on the screen. You can either QR code scan it, or you can just follow that link to download it, or you could go directly to the iTunes store and download the app yourself. But what we're going to do is I'm going to have you downloading that in the background as you do that, and we're going to show you how it works by the end of the presentation. It should only take about 5 minutes or so to download, but if you guys could go ahead and start that now, you'll be ready for the presentation. We're going to show examples of it here too, and we have some demo recordings of it also if you can't participate from that way, so don't be discouraged. Okay, so let me introduce. So my name is William Gardner. I am the Chief Creative Officer and President of Tipping Point Media. I've been running Tipping Point Media's virtual solutions for marketing and training for the last 16 years. It's been a fantastic ride, and we've got a wonderful team here. All of our team is now working virtually, and we're not going to skip a beat. It's not going to be a problem at all because we know how to do virtual. Virtual is what we do. And I hope you guys benefit from that today from me. I hope me and Jessica can show you guys some of the latest technologies that are available and how easy they are to implement. They're not as difficult and scary as they look. And we really hope that you benefit from this show today. Jessica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Angove. I'm an instructional designer, and I'm also the Director of Experiential Learning here at Tipping Point Media. So I do a lot of the instructional design in our virtual reality and augmented reality solutions, as well as our e-learning solutions.
Okay, great. So just a quick slide about us, just to introduce so you guys know who Tipping Point Media is. Tipping Point Media, we've been around, as I said, 16 years. We really pride ourselves on innovation and coming up with the latest virtual cutting-edge solutions. And we've been doing that for 16 years now, and it's just really great to see how many of these tools have progressed and become user and ubiquitous amongst all of us. And now, in this situation that we're in, they're more important than ever. And what we want to try and show you is how easy they are to use. And at Tipping Point Media, we have our whole team is comprised of educators, programmers, designers. We develop everything in-house, 100%. Even our 3D animation that you're going to see have medically accurate 3D animators on it. So they all have medical certifications. So, as you know, we provide a lot of our industries, apparently pharmaceutical, biotech, medical device, and all the science and life science related industries are where we've been developing the majority of our solutions. And, we've won a number of awards over the years for design, education, innovation, and it's been fantastic. And we're looking forward to showing you guys how to go virtual with some of these solutions today.
So the goal of today's webinar, as Bill alluded to just a minute ago, is to provide you guys with the knowledge that you need to be able to transition your meetings, events, and your training to virtual platforms such as virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and e-learning. And we have some great examples to share with you of how this can be done, and Bill will walk us through those in a few minutes. We'll also answer some of the most frequently asked questions about utilizing these technologies for training and events. Then we'll discuss some of the common barriers that we see that are keeping organizations from trying these new technologies, and we'll show you ways that you can work to overcome those. And we'll actually focus on a case study where we overcame several barriers within an organization to implement a VR solution for our client. And this solution started out as a small piece at a trade show booth, and then it exploded into a number of valuable solutions that were able to be used across the organization. And then one of the questions that we always get is, how can we track and measure performance and retention within these AR and VR solutions? You know, what are we able to track? And so we'll discuss some of the analytics that can be tracked within these experiences as well. Next slide. So let's get started with a poll question. So I'm sure many of you on this call are in the same boat where you're now having to figure out how to train and maybe even just how to communicate with your learners or your staff virtually. So what we want to know is, what is your plan for training your staff virtually? Do you have a plan in place, or are you still trying to figure it all out? So we'll give just a minute or two for everyone to respond. If you want to share what you're doing or what you're thinking, you can use the chat window to type your response in. And then I'll share some of the responses. So we'll give just a minute or two for that. But Lindsay, are you seeing anything coming into the chat panel to share?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. So the AR app was in the calendar invitation. Okay, yeah, the AR app was in the calendar invitation. I'm sorry, that's the question. Only static is coming through when you speak. Okay, some people had mentioned that they're trying to figure it out, and we're here to help you. That's what we're trying to get some evaluation on today. Yeah, so, okay, sorry, they're flying in here. We've got a bunch coming in. Still figuring it out, however, using internal forms, web access, and Skypes. Yeah, and that's one of the things, that's a great one, because that's what I want to show you guys today, is how we can integrate and bring some of these WebExes that tend to be a little flat, tend to be PowerPoints, and slightly, you know, they're not engaging, they're not interactive, they're not experiential. And what we're going to show you today is how to spice those up and not throw them away and leverage them to help you integrate VR and AR into it. All right, so somebody, you know, yeah, QR code. Okay, looks like we're having, okay, so if anybody goes, if you're having trouble getting the AR app, just go to iTunes and search for Tipping Point Media. That would be the quickest way to do it. Search there and you'll see our app right in the App Store. And it's free, it doesn't cost anything. Just go ahead and go directly to the App Store. Okay, good. Got it figured out? Okay, great. Well, let's move on. Got a lot to show you guys.
Sure. So thanks, Bill. So yeah, so it sounds like some of you are adapting to the situation as best as possible, and maybe some of you are still trying to figure it out. So that's perfect, because what we're going to show you today are many different ways that you can utilize these virtual platforms for your training and your meetings and events, and how you can enhance your training continuum with these technologies. So we've organized these solutions into a pre-launch, launch, and post-launch training tactics. So we're looking at this like from the launch of a product, but these can really be adapted to many situations. So we're going to start with pre-launch training, and I'm going to hand it over to Bill to show you how virtual and augmented reality can be used to introduce your product to your learners, and then also support what will be coming at the launch and post-launch experiences.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jessica. Go ahead. Okay, so, preparation for the pre-launch, or any type of initiative. When you're starting off, this is the most perfect time to initiate a VR or AR experience. They're perfect for home study, onboarding, disease state, immersive MOAs or MODs, to where you're going in and you're experiencing these firsthand. They're the perfect solution to getting people excited and motivated to get ready for a big launch or a big initiative. And what this does too, is it's the starting point where the story starts to develop. So in all of these tools, from the e-learning to the VR, the AR, we build it in parts and components that are adding to the story as they go through these processes. And we can do virtual preceptorships, offices, hospitals, all of that's being simulated in a virtual world, a virtual experience that anybody can enter into. Now we're bringing tools to healthcare providers. So the healthcare provider, in essence, doesn't even have that communication directly with the rep in some cases, where the rep can send them a printed material, and that printed material comes to life in augmented reality. And we'll show you an example of that in a moment. We have examples too where reps can visit a virtual office. And I'll show you, you'll find that in the app too, to where we have a simulation of a doctor communicating to a patient, and you're essentially a fly on the wall, but you're the one answering all the questions and practicing verbalization. And patient empathy, of course, that's critical. One of the things that we develop with a lot of our virtual reality and augmented reality is that visceral experience, the feeling of emotion and understanding that you can't get from a PowerPoint, you can't get that from e-learning. You get it through these experiences and experiencing it firsthand. So when a representative goes and talks to a doctor, they understand what these doctors are going through. They understand why doctors lay in bed worrying about their patients, because they felt it. They understood it. They felt what it was like to be the patient. And that's what we're doing here. So just quickly, I'm just going to show you a quick little demo. Here is the AR app that I want you guys to download. Thought I'd show it to you real quick. And then we're going to take you through an example of how that interacts. And you can wear it. It can be sent as a printed material. And what this does is it brings anything to life. This could be a printed piece. This could be a webinar screen. So on the screen, all the users stop. They point their iPad at the screen, and the webinar comes to life in augmented reality right there in their virtual environment, right there in their house, their living room, wherever their space may be. And it takes something that's very flat and didactic and brings it to life right there for the user. And there's other emotional components here. This is something that we do for some of our virtual meetings, where it's this story that we build and we talk about the patient, and it's very emotional and has this very artistic approach to it that makes you understand what the patient's going through. So all these virtual experiences at the end, these are great ways to start building up momentum, building up understanding, and building up engagement for the launch initiative.
Thanks, Bill. So next then, we're going to show you how you can utilize VR and AR to apply what was learned in that pre-launch training that we just went through, how learners can apply that at the launch meeting or event.
Okay, yeah, so this is great. So as you saw in the pre-training, it starts building up a story. And we've got a number of initiatives to where, for example, I'm sure many of you have heard of escape rooms. So escape rooms are completely off limits these days in the present situation that we're in. But we're already building them in virtual reality. So you could have multiple users around the world attend an escape room, attend inside of your virtual launch. And this isn't an idea, this isn't a concept, this is something we're already doing. So this is really happening now, where millions of people can attend these escape rooms together and compete and interact and collaborate and problem solve together to ultimately solve their goals. So then we also have patient empathy. And as I was telling you before, the pre-training could start off pre-diagnosis. So that's where you're learning about the patient, you're building the empathy. That could be sent as an e-learning module, that could be sent as an augmented reality. But here at the launch now, we're doing it in virtual reality, And in the virtual reality, it's disease progression. So now you're into the thick of it, and you're understanding the disease. You're hearing from the doctor, you're hearing from the patient, and you're really experiencing this. And it's heartfelt, and it's a deep emotional, moving form of training because you've already met this patient in the pre-launch. And now at the launch, you're now like, oh my gosh, how are we going to save this patient? How are we going to help them? And then, of course, one of the things that people don't realize is the soft selling skills that you can do in virtual reality and augmented reality, to where you can do all types of role playing. Role playing is now happening in VR, in AR, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's the best form of role playing other than live training. I mean, I still am a big believer in live training. Well, we're in this setting now that's not an option. So this is the next best solution. We can do prescribing and customers. There's also ways that you can get these tools to the customer, and I'm going to show you in a minute how easy it is to deploy the new Oculus Rift and the Oculus Quest, forgive me, and how easy it is to send these out, have them sterilized, have them cleaned. Somebody receives these and send them back, and I'm going to show you how we do that, and such a minimal investment. These are only $300 now. $300 compared to the amount of money spent on everything else. It's nothing. So what we do now is the doctors will be receiving augmented reality posters, and we can do things with branching logic. So what that means is your training becomes fully interactive, and we're doing that across our e-learning, our augmented reality, our virtual reality. And what that means is as you interact with the training, it responds back to you. Like we have artificial intelligence built into this to where the training or the doctor or the patient or whoever is the virtual mentor asks you questions. Depending on how you answer them, dictates how the entire story plays out. And of course we're doing now visual aids. So the visual aids now are being built as AR details. Remember when there was the evolution of the e-detailing, and now we're developing AR and VR details. And they're going to be powerful ways to get in front of physicians and HCPs without even having to be there. So that's the next evolution I see coming that the representatives are going to be using as tools. So application launch. So here's an example of the escape room that we built. You can see those avatars in there are really people, and they're from all around the country. And they're in there, and we have them broken out into pods of 4. And what they're going through is, as a team, they're interacting with one another to problem solve. And what's great about this, the most powerful thing about this, is that we could have this launched in a week. This whole system's already built. And we can ship out headsets to where people can participate in that. We ship them out, they put them on, and they're right there and engaged in a virtual setting. So here's another example we have of a virtual reality patient experience. So what you can do, let me just go back for a second. I want to talk about that. I get carried away when I talk about the escape room. So, what you'll see coming up is our virtual reality patient experience. So this is a healthy patient playing basketball. You get to experience that. And then as the disease progresses, you feel what it's like to be this patient suffering from, let's say, rheumatoid arthritis, age-related macular degeneration. The list goes on and on. I mean, even schizophrenia. And here's another example, too, of our branching logic. And we can do this with augmented reality, virtual reality, in some cases video. I don't recommend video anymore, though. Video is too expensive. And what you can see is as you make decisions, it dictates how the story is going to play out. And then we have another example here of AR detailing. So this could be a printed piece that a healthcare provider receives, and when they shine their augmented reality camera onto it, it comes to life. Okay, Jess?
Thanks, Bill. And so, so now finally, we'll end with looking at what we could do for post-launch and for reinforcement. So we'll show you how you can utilize VR and AR after the launch meeting to reinforce those key messages from your event.
So this is great. So this is really where the value add comes in. So there's a lot of value in this. And, imagine we're telling a story. So if we're doing something around an MOA or an MOD, or any kind of patient journey, well, we already learned about the mechanism of disease or the mechanism of action in pre or the launch. And then what we can do is take all of those 3D models that we've already built for the augmented reality or the virtual reality and re-leverage those and turn them into games, gamify it, gamify the AR, the VR. And we can also make it where it's a game that works on an iPad, so they can do it at home. They don't even need the hardware of a VR headset that maybe at the launch, and now you can utilize that on an iPad. So also the objection handling, where we've got simulations where you can build any type of doctor, any type of situation, and you can gamify that also and make it a challenge. So they were learning via the tool at the launch how to do the selling skills. Well, now it's the challenge, and we make it an objection handler to where they're interacting with it. They're being thrown curveballs. They're being asked about the efficacy and the data and all of those things that we want them to understand. And we can customize all that, and we can have it updated. So what I mentioned earlier about how I don't believe in video anymore, well, because video is so hard to update. It takes forever. A new approval, new indication, anything like that comes out. To reshoot video costs a fortune. You have to get the actors, you have to get the crew, you have to hire an editor, and that takes weeks, if not months. Well, now with these new tools, we can instantly update any of those questions, those responses. That objection handling can be happening, and all the rep simply gets is a notification on their app that there's an update. They hit update, and it's all brand new content instantly. Access and reimbursement, patient journeys, and this is really great. The patient journey part is really important because this would be about the treatment. So you've been telling this whole story of the patient, and you've been following them. You've been following them, you know, in your pre-training, in the launch, and then the post could be all about the treatment, and it's you know, it's inspiring, uplifting. This is treating. You're saving patients. You're helping them. Let's help these doctors and HCPs get their patients healthy. It's inspiring. It's heartfelt, and those are things that create memories. It's important that this is all focused around retention. You know, nothing garners more retention than engagement and emotionally being moved. Oops, sorry, let's go. So here, I'm just going to show you a quick little demo. So this is where we had learned something about an MOA or an MOD, and we gamified it. So you turn it in, so you've got to interact with the MOA, put all of the jacks in the right position and so on. And then what happens is it turns into a shooting game where you've got to go around and you've got to aim and shoot the proper cells or connectors off and the jack 1 and 2s and move into. So here's another example too, where we built a simulation of you driving a car and what it's like to have macular degeneration. You know, and we took that MOA and that MOD and it then built it into a game where you're going around working as if you are curing the disease, and you're working, going around reducing the drusen and the rods and the wasted rods and cones, and you're clearing that out. And another example too, where we could do it as eLearning, is where you could build a sales simulator via eLearning also, and that could be something that they download. It works as a mobile device. And they can interact with it that way, and they can do sales simulation. So it doesn't always have to be AR or VR. It can also be done in e-learning if you're trying to, you know, cut costs. There we go.
Thanks, Bill. So those are some great examples, and hopefully they sparked some ideas for you. So now on that note, we're going to do another poll question. And so we want to know, have you in the past, or now that you've just seen some of these great examples, are you currently considering using AR or VR in your virtual training plan? So you can go ahead and use the chat window again, and then Bill, when the responses start coming in, you can go ahead and share those.
Sure. Okay, we've got a couple of yes. That's good to hear. Okay, we're hearing that somebody did it at a launch last year and had some really great success. That's awesome. That's great to hear. So we have some people that are concerned about the limitations of global aspect of it. And what's great is we're going to show you how to disseminate these. You know, first of all, the AR and the AR versus the VR. The AR is much simpler. You know, everybody has a phone. They have an Android or an iPhone or an iPad or a tablet, and that's the easiest to disseminate. You know, and then what I'm going to show you a little bit later in the presentation is how we handle, you know, distributing and facilitation of VR headsets and how easy it's gotten and how inexpensive it's gotten. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so it sounds like some are yes, or maybe for some of you that are still thinking about it, you know, what we're going to do next is dive a little deeper into, you know, why VR and AR are these impactful tools for learning. And then we'll also get into some of those frequently asked questions around how to implement these solutions, one of them being the question that was asked about how do you distribute these. So we can go to the next slide.
Sure.
So we'll start by just diving a little deeper into learning in virtual reality. And one of the questions that we often get is, you know, how do you know that VR and AR are effective training tools? And because these are newer technologies, there isn't a lot of data out there yet to use as a benchmark, but studies are being published. And there was one done just last year that provided some great data. And so in this study, the participants were assigned to one of three learning conditions. So there was the traditional textbook style learning condition, there was a virtual reality learning experience, and then there was a video learning experience. And so all three used the same text and the same 3D model for the content. And then each participant was given an exam before and after the experience. And what they found was that the participants in the VR condition, they actually showed better performance for remembering. And they also showed an increase in positive emotions, and they reported higher engagement with the experience. So what that tells us is that overall, the virtual reality did display an improved learning experience when you're comparing it to textbooks or PDFs or even compared to videos. And so that's what gets us excited about using these technologies for training, because they're not just visually engaging, but the data is there to back them up as valid training solutions also. But as we discussed, you know, one of the questions we often get is, you know, how do I get VR out to my learners? Whether they're, you know, dispersed around the country or around the globe. And, you know, especially now, that's a question more important now than ever when most everyone is working from home these days. So for that, I'm going to hand it back to Bill, and he's going to walk you through how we do that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Jessica. So, okay, so imagine this scenario. You guys want to do an escape room virtually. Well, that sounds incredibly ambitious. I imagine with never having a headset or anything along those lines, VR for the first time. Well, it's not our first time. I mean, we've done this before. And with the new Oculus Quest, let me bring that over and let me just show you. So this is the new Oculus Quest, and it shows up in a box just like this. Couldn't be any smaller, you know, very easy. You know, prior to this in virtual reality, you would have to invest in a big computer like this, a headset, all these different setups. You had to know how to set it up. It was very complicated. Well, those days are gone. The evolution of VR becoming a practical, realistic solution for training is here. It's upon us. So let me just show you exactly what that is. So here's the headset. So this is what comes. You have your two hand controllers. So it couldn't be easier. So you just literally pull it out of the box. Let me show you that. So the box comes. So imagine you're a representative or a learner. You would receive this box. You would open it up. Sorry, I'm new at boxes. So, you know, and then this comes out, and you have your two controllers. They would literally take it, press the on button, and place it on their head, make a couple of selections, and they're right there in the escape room. It couldn't be any easier. You know, and this is right here, $300 investment. You know, today, if you look at logistics, cost, flights, which none of that's possible anymore at the present moment, right now, this is a $300 investment. And all you would have to do is, we start a project, and if we were to work on it, what you do is first, we design and develop it. So everything is facilitated by Tipping Point Media, from top to bottom. It's designed and developed. We go through your med legal, which we're very familiar with. We understand the process because this is what we do. We then, once the app is completed, we build the app and we install it onto the headset. So all the headsets are shipped to Tipping Point Media. And once they're shipped and arrived, we set it all on there, we test it, we put it through our battery of user testing to make sure everything's right. We simply package it back up, or well, no, there's the other step, where we sterilize it. So let me show you that. So that's really important. Just recently, we invested in these tools. It's called Clean Box. I'm sorry. So it's a clean box that uses an ultralight cleaning process to where it goes inside. Let me just show it to you. I'll show you. I'll come back to this. So here you go. So what you do is you put the headset in the clean box. For 1 minute, it does a complete ultralight cleaning process throughout the entire headset. So everything. You can put the controllers in there, you can put the headset in there, and cleans it from top to bottom. And it's absolutely an amazing game changer too, because no longer is a health concern. So once the headset has been installed with everything, tested, sterilized, we package it all back up, and then we also handle the facilitation of shipping it out to the representatives. Let me go back to that. So then we ship it out, they receive it, and then all the while, this is a tool that we just recently built that tracks and measures how all the headsets are being utilized. So we get a complete data report on how they're interacting with it, when they're engaging with it, if they're completing it, full ROI on how they're performing and increasing their knowledge through this, and all of this is ready to go. I mean, it's all packaged up, it's online, it's there. This is a game changer. So, I mean, right there. So I'll go over the cost in a little bit, some further slides, but that's how you do it. I mean, that's how it would be disseminated to your learners. And it couldn't be any easier. It's not as complicated as it looks. You don't need an IT team to facilitate all of it. We would carry all that. You don't need a logistical team to facilitate that. And you don't need instructional designers or programmers to make it. Okay.
Thanks, Bill, for showing us how easy it can be to distribute VR headsets to learners. But now another option is augmented reality. And as Bill mentioned, this doesn't require any special equipment except your phone or an iPad or a mobile device. And while AR is not inherently as immersive as VR, it still offers a number of benefits. So for one, it gets your learners out of their chairs and moving and interacting with the content. So, you know, they could place these 3D objects in the center of their room, and then they could be able to actually walk around that object 360 degrees. Another benefit of it is that it allows your learners to pull content that they're interested in rather than having a bunch of stuff just pushed out to them like PDFs and PowerPoints. And so this offers them that feeling of control over what they're learning, which we know from our principles of adult learning that adults like autonomy and they prefer learning this way, and augmented reality really lends itself to that. There was a study published at the beginning of last year that evaluated the impact of AR on learning motivation of students. And what it found was that it did increase the attention, satisfaction, and competence measures of motivation for learners. And what we know is that when learning is engaging and learners are motivated, knowledge retention increases. But we also know that the educational value of AR and VR, for that matter, is really dependent on the way in which it's designed and implemented. So, you know, by themselves as technologies doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to offer that great learning experience. It's the way that the experience is designed. And that's really what we specialize in at Tipping Point, is making sure that what we're creating is not just engaging and utilizing these technologies, but that everything is rooted in that solid instructional design as well. So next I'm going to hand it back to Bill, and we're going to all go through an AR experience together, and he'll show us how we can utilize these in our virtual meetings and events.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Jessica. Okay, guys, so I hope you all downloaded the app. That was, if you still, there's still time. I mean, you could even do this afterwards, and we could mail you this image. And if anybody wants to enjoy this experience, we can ship all these materials to you. We have posters, we have stickers, business cards, and we also have t-shirts you can wear, which I'll show you in a minute. But if you guys want to go ahead and launch the app, so you have it on your iPhone, go ahead, just push it. And now what you should do is point the camera. Let me show you in a minute. So when I'm going to come over, and for you that are not familiar with AR, so I've got the poster right here, you know, or the image. It works in a PowerPoint. It works. Don't put anything over top of the image, by the way. Don't block the image. That's using it as a target. So if you've got like a video screen or a browser or something over top, and don't do that. And then all you need to do is let the system recognize that image, and you can see you have a complete three-dimensional, anatomically correct virtual individual right there in your living room with you. And you can see we put in here just as an example of all the different disease states that you could go through. We have something here on MS. And these are just little demos to show you what's capable. And it looks right there. It looks like, you know, the brain cell is right there in the room with you. And you can interact with it and show how the brain cell stem is being compromised. And then you just click these arrows here to go back. Hope everybody can see my screen just fine. All the while you're doing it. So let's see, the hearts and lungs. You know, so of course this is obvious, right? Of course, doing any of the clinical stuff you think is obvious and is the perfect use for it. Well, let me show you something else too. So if you go down to the bottom left, there's this little hamburger menu. Open that up and then go to the patient exploration button, which is on your top, the second one down on your left. And you click that, and what it becomes is a doctor's office.
Hello, I'm Helen.
Helen is one of my idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension, or IPAH patients, who is currently on a phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitor. Feel free to get to know her while I finish reviewing some of her results. Tap the buttons in front of you to ask Helen questions.
So this is the cool part. So what we do here is, isn't it just ABC, different types of questions, and we can do this with a sales simulator, we can do this with a virtual doctor's office, but it's all voice activated with AI. So ask her a question. Tell me about yourself.
I'm 68 years old and recently retired from teaching. Now I spend more time with my 2 grandchildren.
When were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed with functional class 2 IPAH 6 months ago.
And look at the little detail how she follows you with her eyes. I think that's so cool. And we've even got a newer version of this now that we're about to launch in a month or so. We're going to be launching it at L10, and it's incredible. It looks so lifelike. How are you feeling today?
Not great. I feel short of breath even when I'm doing everyday tasks like walking my dog.
I want to begin by reviewing Helen's risk assessment since her diagnosis. And
Okay.
all 3 assessments.
So I'll let you guys experience.
Terminal pro-brain natriuretic peptide plasma levels reflecting.
Okay, so one more thing. Oh, so I wanted to show the T-shirt too. So you can see also, you could do it on a T-shirt. That if you put that up, so that's a T-shirt. I'm trying to, a little tricky to do here, one-handed. Imagine if you're wearing a T-shirt, and it brings your lungs and organs onto the person. So it's a really cool way to. It's just a fun way to do it. Well, oops, the daisy. And you can check that out. And if anybody's interested in getting a t-shirt, I would be happy to send you one. Just send me an email if you're interested, and send me your size. So we got medium, large, extra large, we got small, and it's really cool. The kids love it, you know, and it'd be really fun. And even show the kids the apps. If you guys are stuck at home with kids, kids love this stuff. Of course they do. Okay, so, oops. All right, so moving on. Jeff?
Yep, thanks, Bill. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that AR demo and seeing how that worked and have some ideas about you know, how you might be able to incorporate that into some of the things that you're doing into your training or your meetings and events. But so sometimes we find that, you know, while our clients do see the value in VR and AR, they run into some obstacles with implementing it at their organization. So we're going to switch gears now and talk about some of those common barriers that we've seen and give you some ideas for how you can work to overcome them. But to get started, we wanted to know what are some of the barriers that, you know, are keeping you from utilizing AR or VR in your organization now. So you could use the chat window to answer, and Bill, you can just say some of those answers as they start coming in.
Yes, ma'am. Cost. Okay, a lot of people are concerned about cost. Well, I've got something I can show you at the end of the presentation, the how to use it and sell it upstairs for multiple brands or multiple investors and stakeholders, and how to get that approved, and also how to build it in phases. It doesn't have to be this huge battleship we're building. You know, we build it in pieces, and we've done that for a number of our clients. So we've always gotten around cost. We've always figured it out, and there's a number of ways to do that. Yeah, we can make it binary and in multiple languages. We've done that. That's actually easier to fix than doing it in your traditional e-learning with video. Time to develop, it's not that long. I would say in most of the solutions that we develop are about 3 months. So, I mean, I bet you there's plenty of organizations or other development companies out there that could take much longer. But, I mean, we've been in the pharmaceutical and medical device game for too long, and we know there's no such thing as patience. And we got to move fast, and we got to hustle, and we know how to do it. I mean, it's absolute. And that's why we keep everybody in-house here at Tipping Point Media, and we don't farm things out overseas, because we just have to move so fast, accurately, and efficiently. What programming language and skill set needed to develop? Well, there's a lot of skill sets involved. You know, there's the programming language to start is C or Java. You can program in both of them, but what it really comes down to, it's the instructional design that's most important. The programming part of it, I would say, is very difficult to be that type of programmer, but we really pride ourselves on the aesthetic of it and the interactivity and the engagement and the results we get back, that our learners are benefiting from this. Okay, I think I got them all. And I'll talk more about the cost and how to, you know, show that it's got value and people are benefiting from it. And that's the ultimate goal.
Great. So yep. So those are all great concerns, and they're the same ones that a lot of our clients come to us with. And so what we found as the most common barriers are cost, portability, longevity, and selling it upstairs to your stakeholders. But these factors don't have to keep you from using AR and VR, as Bill was alluding to. Costs are coming down. The technology is becoming more portable. Strategic design can allow the content to be used in multiple solutions. And analytics and tracking can allow you to measure retention, performance, and ROI, all of which can help you sell it upstairs. So I'm going to pass it back to Bill to talk about each of these in a little more depth, and then we'll walk you through the case study we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation and throughout, to show you a real-life example of how one of our clients overcame a number of these barriers to create an award-worthy training solution.
All right, thanks again, Jess. Okay. So, I mean, the simple fact is everybody's working from home right now, you know, and that is something we got to figure out. We got to keep people engaged. We got to keep them inspired. But this still, is a lot cheaper of a solution than all the traveling, lodging, in-person events, the meetings in person. All of that is really, really expensive. And I think what's going to happen now is people are going to see the value of these virtual trainings, and it is going to put a spotlight on saying, hey, virtual training works. It works just as well as these live meetings and these cost expenses. And I think these big companies are going to start to see the value in that and make virtual, people behind virtual training, the people that are making the investment in virtual training, extremely valuable. You know, and the initial upfront investment, economy of scale in developing those additional assets, well, there is a little bit of an upfront investment. And what we do is we start really small with that too. You know, we build the system and we build it in a way that things can be advanced, things can be added to, things can quickly be updated. So when you start compiling all of that, it actually gets very inexpensive. You know, the ability to easily update content. You know, this is as easy to update content as it is as an e-learning module or a PDF. It still has to go through the same process. You know, we have to sometimes deal with a little more 3D and so on, but it's the same exact amount of time as it would be for, you know, a PDF or so on. If you're doing the storyboards correctly. When we've seen people in the past that, oh, we couldn't get it through legal, well, because you didn't do the storyboard right. You know, you've got to know how to communicate to the legal department and storyboard it correctly, that it goes through without any extra cost or expenditures. The version control, it's great. I mean, these things go out to your iPad. We instantly just notify the rep that, hey, your Oculus Quest or your iPad has been updated, and it automatically happens. Reduce time in the field, that's the ultimate goal. I mean, they could be doing all of these at home. You know, they don't have to spend time traveling to meetings and going to these different events. A lot of this can happen right at home, and more time in the field, that's the goal. Reduce rep turnover and reduce collateral expenditures. Okay, longevity. I mean, that's always been a concern too, is a lot of people say, oh, this is just going to be a one and done. Well, that's not how we design any of these. That's one of our most important values that I build into this, is I believe firmly, and this has got to be something that grows. This has got to be something that we start small and it can build into different arenas where it becomes one app that is also working as a selling tool. It also houses the MOA. It also houses some of their virtual modules. It becomes this one-stop shop where everything is located, and it definitely builds longevity into it. These tools are not going anywhere. If anything, it's the webinars, it's these go-to meetings, it's even the didactic PowerPoint and e-learnings. Those are going away. People are going to expect this in their learning. They're going to expect interactivity. They're going to expect engagement. They're going to expect leaving their learning emotionally invested and emotionally excited. And that's the way of the future. So to keep trying to resist that this isn't coming, it's coming, and it's already here. Reps often envisage it. The stats coming back are people are going back into these solutions just for fun. They enjoy it. It's a great experience. The gamification, the interactivity, the simulation. This is something that people come back for. You know, addressing a broad target audience needed during the design phase. Same piece. So a lot of this can be re-leveraged to where we can take into account that this isn't just being used for the representatives of training. We can re-leverage all these 3D assets and all this interactivity that we've used as maybe a tool that communicates and helps, you know, HCPs, of course not unbranded, help HCPs or patients better understand the disease state. And what you're doing is you're just leveraging those assets. So that also plays into cost. You're saving a lot of money there because everything I'm talking about here ultimately is all about value. Leveraging content across global businesses, onboarding, training to marketing, and global partners, changing the language, changing the voiceover into these things is much easier than you know, any kind of video-based solution or e-learning solution. It's the same thing as far as plugging in audio tracks as an e-learning solution. Portability. So that's one of the things I spoke about. Is the iPad version is everybody's already has that in their hand. Everybody has the iPhone, the iPad. It's ubiquitous. So there's no concern for hardware there of portability. I mean, you already have it in your pocket. The augmented reality targets can vary in size. They could be posters, they could be banners, they could be flashcards, they could be a screen that shows up in a webinar or a GoToMeeting, as you just experienced. And they also can work with no target at all. So the portability is incredible. And now with the new Oculus Quest, as you see here, a minimal $300 investment. Look at how small this is. I mean, it's tiny. They could throw this right in the backpack with their laptop. They could keep it, you know, in a station on their desk. It couldn't be easier and more portable. It never has been before. So, you know, let's see. So I got to keep moving here. I'm sorry, we're running out of time. You know, the analytics, and that's what's really important. You know, everybody wants to be innovative. Everybody wants to come up with creative solutions. But if the results aren't there, it's not innovative and it's not a creative solution. You know, so at the end of the day, you have to be tracking, you have to be measuring, you have to be gaining the analytics behind how this is working and improving your learners' retention. And that's what we have in place is with our VR AR campus is what we call it. And it tracks and measures everything and all their behaviors inside of that. It creates memorable experiences. You know, this is something we want to build, that metacognitive development. You know, we want to have them see it, hear it, feel it, understand it. And what that does is build different connections inside the mind, which ultimately create stronger, longer lasting memories. And that's the goal. Building a deeper level of understanding and empathy. You know, we're not training robots here. We're not trying to build robots. We're not trying to turn these representatives into robots. We want to turn them into caring, loving people that understand patients and understand how doctors are trying to help people around the world more than ever. Assets, you know, the equipment can be used across multiple brands. So that's what I'm going to talk about in the next slide, is how it was disseminated across the entire organization by one person's initiative. And it was really amazing to watch how it spread. And, you know, ultimately this person got a great promotion out of it, which I'm proud of. But I'm going to show you how this disseminates across the organization, how everybody can utilize it, and how everybody benefits from it. And studies suggest that virtual reality increases learners' retention, empathy on multiple levels. Okay, so here's that last slide I was telling you guys about. Thank you so much for waiting. And this is the example that I was telling you about, a really great test scenario that we had, where case study, that we built, where it started off as an initiative as a trade show booth for HCPs, and they were using it at a trade show event. And of course, there was funding behind that, and they had a bigger budget, and we started very small. And what we did after that was it slowly grew. It grew into one product, or started off as one product with two indications. And it was a VR simulation that they would go through, and they're learning about the product, learning about the efficacy and the MOA and the MOD. And then it evolved to two products, one indication, and then we integrated a dashboard. We integrated analytics, the tracking, the measuring, to see how HCPs were using this and benefiting from it, and so on. And then it evolved, and exploded. It went, the whole organization got behind it, was extremely excited. They started using it at conferences and trade shows throughout the year. They started bringing it around on road tours. So it started going around, they were traveling with it. And then ultimately it was converted to a mobile VR device and converted to iPads that they were then giving to the representatives that they were utilizing. So the reps were using it, HCPs were using it. It was on road tours going around the world. And ultimately it became a conversion to a global solution. So this all started with one person's virtual reality idea that we helped put together, and to this day, it just keeps growing. We keep adding new indications, new brands, and ultimately, it's now disseminated into their training and their marketing experiences. So that's all we have today. I hope you guys benefited from this. I hope everybody's staying safe and staying comfortable at home. Don't worry, we'll get through this. I hope you guys enjoyed this experience. Feel free to reach out to us if you want any of these virtual reality assets. We would love to send you some of these t-shirts, send you some of these assets for you to interact with. But thank you very much, and thank you, Jessica. I appreciate your help today. I thought it was a great experience. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and good day.